everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Julia and I've been living here in Finland for the last 5 years. I moved here from Singapore, but I'm originally from Myanmar. As you might know from the title of this video, I am pregnant. And in fact, I'm in my second trimester. And this is my very first pregnancy ever. And in the beginning of my pregnancy, I was really finding out the information about how to be pregnant here in Finland. And I really didn't manage to find a lot of information that are in English, so I decided to make this video. And probably in the future as well, I will be sharing pregnancy journey in Finland here with you all as well. So if you're interested in that kind of content, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll be definitely posting more pregnancy related video in the future. If that's not your type of video, then thank you for sticking with me until right now. So first of all, I want to share a bit about my first trimester experience. Me and my husband, we found out that we are pregnant back in the autumn of 2022. And then I got these like pregnancy test kits from Neuvola, which is like a store where you can get all these like chemical or like, you know, skincare products, and it's called Neuvola. So I bought like one pregnancy test, which is very inexpensive, and it has like 5 pieces of pregnancy test strips. So I used that to test it, and then the first time when I tested, it was like a little faint line. So I wasn't sure if the test is just wrong, because you know the test kit was very cheap compared to other expensive brands, so I wasn't very reliant on that test result. And then I tested again in like 2 days because my period was still late, and then I realized that the more I tested, the line became much more distinctive. So that's when I realized that okay, I am pregnant. I was testing in the toilet, and then after that I came out because I couldn't believe it that we are really pregnant. And yeah, that's how I told the news to my husband immediately. So even though whenever I see on my YouTube that some influencers do this, like surprising my husband with my pregnancy news and stuff, I didn't manage to do it because I can't keep a secret, and I was also in shock. But yeah, so I guess it was more natural. We were both pretty excited that this is happening. I try to keep testing, like, because I get a bit anxious that what if it's not really there and I'm just like seeing things and so on. But yeah, but pretty much the result became consistent, so I felt a bit more relief. So that's how we found out about our pregnancy news. But then came all the other health relevant things that comes along with your pregnancy news. So for example, I started looking up like how is it like being pregnant here in Finland. Of course there are a lot of information, but they are in Finnish, and my Finnish is not that good to read to understand those things. So I use the Google Translate, and of course I also have my Finnish husband, but it's just different when you can read it yourself and understand it. A long story short, you can only go for your first appointment with a midwife here in Finland when you're at your 10-week pregnancy, which is like still a long time to go. And at the point I was very anxious, like okay, what if the baby is not in the right place? Because you know, to keep the baby in your uterus, the baby needs to be in the uterus and not in the fallopian tube. And you know, like, because I started reading all those right after I found out that my period is late and I'm pregnant, then I started getting those information, and I get really anxious. So I was thinking that oh, it's gonna take a long time before I can really see the doctor and get this checked up. But then I took a deep breath, and then I decided that okay, if this is like the recommended time, then I would just wait instead of going to a private clinic to check it up. So we went to the first appointment at the Neuvola, which is like a maternity clinic here in Finland. They call it Neuvola. We visited there at my 10th week of pregnancy, and the session was more about explaining like what do I have to expect. She was just checking up like how do I feel, and she wanted to know about my health history in my family. It's pretty much like information sharing. She wasn't even like touching my tummy, or there was no checkup about the baby inside. So it was just like information sharing session. Then on that first visit, I got this maternity card. This is, I think it's pretty much the same for everybody. This booklet, they record all the numbers, like my personal details, my initial weight, and then like my age, height, everything. Like every time I go and visit the Neuvola, I have to bring this card. During the first session, I also found out the estimated delivery date. So it was kind of nice to know, and also like to get the exact estimation about how many weeks I was at back then. So during that first session itself, the midwife went through all the tests that I should be booking. For example, taking this glucose test and the very first ultrasound test and so on. So this glucose test, normally the pregnant woman, they have to take the test like later in their pregnancy. For example, in their like 20th week. But for me, because of the diabetes history in my family, I had to take it on the week 10th or 11th of my pregnancy. So that test was really like tedious test. It took 2 hours to test it, and like, you know, as usual blood test, I couldn't drink or eat anything like 14 hours before the test, and I did the test very early in the morning. So first they took my blood, very first thing, and then I have to drink this very sweet juice, and then I waited, took my blood out, and then I had to wait for an hour, and then they took the blood out again. So there were a total of 3 blood draws. And also before that, there was like one blood test where they took out at least 4 tubes of blood from me. Yeah, that happened right after the first Neuvola visit. So it comes with the normal blood test and then glucose blood test, and finally at week 12 we went to the ultrasound lab, and then that's when we saw the baby. That's when I realized that, okay, I really have a baby inside me, the heart is beating, the measurements are fine. During the early weeks of the pregnancy, you can't really see any changes with the body, like no tummy coming out or anything, but there was a very horrible morning sickness. I think it started from like after I found out I'm pregnant. I don't know if it is because of my mind, but starting from like week 6 until like week 11, I had really horrible morning sickness. I couldn't smell coffee at all, and then I also like started avoiding some food, and everything I eat, I just couldn't keep it in. I just have to get it out. So that was very horrible. And even though it says morning sickness, it happened throughout the day. But aside from that, it passed quickly. Starting from the week 11 or 12, I just didn't have any problem with this morning sickness at all. So I was very lucky in that sense.
Here's the recap of my first trimester experience in Finland.
Actually, during the first ultrasound, not only that we found out that there is the baby, the heart is beating and everything, they also did the test on the Down syndrome symptoms, and then they only give us the result whether there's a potential to it or no, or everything is clear through the mail like a couple of days later. So that's something to take note of, like you won't know it immediately. And of course you can also choose not to do the test as well, but for us we wanted to know in advance, and everything went well with the result as well. And then after that first ultrasound test, whenever we visited the Neuvola, the midwife will just like search for the heartbeat with a very old equipment. You hear the baby heartbeat, which is nice, but then she has to find it a lot, especially when the baby is like moving around the tummy. So that was quite fun whenever I made the visit there. Around week 18 to 20, there is a very first appointment with the doctor. So the doctor just like checked through how I've been feeling, and also she also did a quick test with the ultrasound, which is not as detailed as the very first one. And you know, just to make sure that the baby position is in the right place and so on. And then around week 18-19 of the pregnancy, that's when we went to the second ultrasound, where we found out about the gender of our baby. So for me, I'm happy with any of the gender. And then when I asked Leo if he has any like expectations, and he also said that he doesn't have any. But then during the session, I think it was the nurse, she was asking if we want to know the gender, and then we said yes. Then she started like explaining what type of gender we have. I can reveal the gender now, of course. I'm wearing pink, and the baby is blue, which is the same as my nail color is a boy. So that was the second ultrasound. It was like already mid of December, and then there was the holiday period, and then we went to the next, our third visit to Neuvola, like around very early January. We went through the same kind of checkup with the lady, and yeah, so by then I was already more than 5 months pregnant. So in Finland you can get this certificate of pregnancy after you are being pregnant for about 150 days. Midwife said that she will be sending this pregnancy certificate through my registry. It's called Omakenta, so I can download all the certificate, and also she will send it directly to Kela. So in Finland you need to have the certificate to apply for all these like maternity benefit, and you would also need to use it to get your maternity leave at work. You know, you have to submit the documentation as well, and then you also need to apply for the maternity box, so you need to use that maternity certificate as well. So right now I haven't, even though she said it like 2 weeks ago, and I keep checking it in my Omakenta and my Kela, the certificate never arrived. So I guess I'm gonna have to check with her in my next visit, which is coming up in like 2-3 weeks. By now you would notice that every month there is a regular visit to the Neuvola clinic, then you talk to the same midwife. Of course you can change the person if you consider that is not really vibing with you, but for me it's still so far so good. Even though there's like some funny things. She's forgetting that I already took this glucose test, and she likes to ask whether I have like diabetes in my family, at least like every time I visited. It's been 4 times, and she asked me in every single session. I don't know why it is not recorded in the system. Maybe she's just too busy. But yeah, so far it's good. I can still tolerate. In the meantime, we attended our very first Perhevalmennus, which is like a class for the first time expected parents, and the class was taught in English, and we had to take it like online. And according to my colleague who just had a baby a year ago, like quite recent, it was like very difficult to get the slot, because there are not that many like English speaking classes for those, so we managed to get one as quick as possible. We will have this next Perhevalmennus session next week, so pretty excited. But the first session was focusing mainly on breastfeeding and then there was like a lady who recently had a baby, and she was sharing her experience, which was somehow very scary because she was supposed to have a natural birth, but then the baby didn't come out, so they have to do this induced labor, and then then she suddenly had to take the C-section because the baby heartbeat was like slowed down or very fast, one of the things. So then she had to take the C-section, and it was a bit of a scary experience to hear, but I guess it's like helping you to prepare what's gonna come. And I hope that the next Perhevalmennus is gonna be about like actual giving birth instead of focusing mainly on the breastfeeding, which we have heard a lot about for like 2 hours in the very first one.
Here's the recap of my second trimester experience in Finland.
So in this session, I want to focus more on what type of apps you would need, what type of vitamins you would need to take, and so on. So the very first thing, you need to have this app called MISA. It's a healthcare app in Finland. You can like book or schedule any appointment that you would need with them, like for example the visit to Neuvola or the ultrasound, or even like signing up for these parenting classes. You can do it through here, and also other health requirements that you might need, you can do it here, and then the result came straight to the app, so that is amazing. But the lab tests and blood tests, you have to book them through the HUS lab. And what else? It's also really important to bring your Kela card whenever you visit the Neuvola, the doctor, or when do this ultrasound check, because that's what they always ask. And you have to wear a mask whenever you go to these sort of like clinic places. It's like, it's not mandatory, but it's good to wear it because you will see them like placing them at the counter and so on. And besides the Kela card, you also need to bring your maternity book. So whenever you visit the Neuvola, the midwife will write things here, the doctor will write things in there, and they will also write it in the online system, but somehow it doesn't always show up in the app. So I'm also like a bit thinking, because we have the app, then we have the book, why can't they just do it all in the app? Because I once forgot to bring this maternity card, and then I think it wasn't such a good experience for the midwife. So when it comes to vitamins, I've been drinking this Mama Monivitamini. It's by the brand called Mini Sun, and I just need to take like 1 tablet a day. It has the recommended amount of folic acid, and I also checked with the Neuvola lady that this is like okay to take it, so this is what I've been taking. On the other hand, I also take the vitamin D tablets almost daily, because you know, I go to office when it's dark, I came back from office when it's dark, so I don't think I'm getting enough sunlight at all, so it's always good to have vitamin D. Another thing is that I heard a lot of the ladies have this like experience with the constipation throughout their pregnancy, and especially more so in the second and third trimester. So I have this Begorion. So this is like a sachet, like you just have to take one of the sachets from here, and then mix it in the water or coffee or juice, and then you drink it. So this is like what you drink when you are having this constipation problem. And I actually got this box from my colleague who like recently gave birth, and she doesn't need it anymore, so she gave it to me, so I'm very happy about it. And I also checked it with my midwife like at Neuvola whether this is something that I can take, and it was approved. And intentionally I realized that I kept the best part to the last. The best thing about being pregnant here in Finland is that I don't have to pay anything. Like I don't really have any special health insurance or anything. I don't think like this healthcare is even currently covered by by my work, because I'm not using my work insurance or work healthcare system, which is the terveystalo. I'm just purely using this MISA, which is I think part of the Finnish Kela welfare system. So like everything is free. Of course, sometimes I tend to think in my head that like, oh, I had to wait a long time to get the first check, and also like there were like not enough ultrasound check according to my standard, even though it is actually perfect amount of time. So total 3, and I would love to have one more, you know, like the ones where you can see the face of the baby, the 3D type of ultrasound, but it's gonna cost I think it's gonna cost like 150, so I don't think I'm gonna take that. I will just like wait and see how the baby comes out when it decides to come out. So as I was saying before I get sidetracked, it's really nice to be pregnant here in Finland because there is no expenses whatsoever. I also quickly want to cover the topic on maternity leave here in Finland. In Finland, you're supposed to tell your manager or inform your work that you're pregnant at least 2 months before your delivery date. So if you're pregnant and you just can't wait to tell, of course you can do that, or you can also like wait a little bit. I waited until I know about the gender of the baby and I know that the baby is everything is okay with it. Only then I told my manager that, hey, I'm pregnant and I'm expecting the baby in like early spring. So that's how it went for me. At least I wanted to know like how other people have been like sharing this news with their work. That's like one of the things that I really want to know, so I don't mind sharing it with you guys, and I hope that it's somehow useful information. It is also recommended for the mothers to take the maternity leave, like a pre-maternity leave, at least 1 month before the delivery date. After you give birth, you have to take 3 months maternity leave, like post baby. You have to take 3 months, so that is also mandatory. And then after that you can split the rest of the maternity leave with your partner, and then your partner, who is the father, is also going to have his own paternity leave. So yeah, that's pretty much cover how we can split the maternity leave. And another good thing is that during this maternity period, paternity period, I will still be get paid by my company based on my salary, you know, like the tax that I paid the year before. So I feel really amazing to be pregnant because I've been paying taxes, like a lot of taxes every month. Every time I buy something in a grocery store or eat out in a restaurant, I feel like, oh, why is this so expensive, you know, including all the tax. And now finally I'm getting some services back. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Overall, I feel physically, mentally okay. Of course, now my tummy is very, very big. I can give you a quick look. I'm wearing black now, but this is how the tummy looks like right now. But mentally, I feel great, excited, happy. I tend to absorb more negative news, so I'm trying not to open my eyes to so much negativity right now and try not to have a lot of stress. But yeah, I think this video is getting pretty long. I hope this video is somehow helpful to you, and I'm happy to share my experience with you as well. And I'll be making more pregnancy vlog and sharing my pregnancy experience here in Finland with you guys as well. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'm gonna see you guys in my next one. Bye!